Re-traumatization. So, what is re-traumatization? Why is it important to understand this? Especially if you are someone who is on the journey of unraveling your past. Maybe you're going through the process of individualization where you are becoming your full individualized self, which is separate from your conditioning, separate from your childhood, separate from what society has told you, separate from what your parents have told you. You are coming into your own authentic, integrated, soulful self. Well, before going into that space, sometimes if you want to live fully in the present, you got to resolve the past. You got to solve the past. And this is where childhood therapy comes in. This is why people dive into the childhood to seek out the root causes of what's stopping them from living their best life. And on this journey, sometimes re-traumatization can occur. This is a process, this is an incident where childhood wounds are brought up. It may be brought up through doing a practice, some sort of breath work, for example, something that opens up the body or opens up the mind to the past. It could also happen through therapy, and then it brings up all these emotions, so for example, if you are on this journey and you start to remember something from your childhood, and it's actually very triggering because there's still unresolved emotions behind it, it can leave your nervous system highly strung, and it can throw you into a fear or survival response, because if you're thrown back into that time, then your inner child gets activated. And if your inner child was in a place of feeling unsafe, not held, not supported, then it's normal to feel that way. But this is when the re-traumatization is starting to happen. The trauma is coming up and you are feeling as though you are that child. Your nervous system is almost hijacked by your past, right? And trauma gets stored in the body. So when there is an incident that reminds the body of the original trauma, whether it's a sound, a person, a color, a vibration, a smell, it can trigger this sense of survival, because the body doesn't want to feel the pain again. So it needs to warn you, and it needs to go into a fight response or flight response. It needs to get away from the situation, or it needs to find safety. Now, how a child learns to find safety is through dissociating or running away or shutting down or shutting off. It may have worked as a child, but as an adult, this is not sustainable. As an adult, this can create a negative ripple effect in relationships, in work situations, in home situations. So why does re-traumatization happen? Sometimes it happens because if the inner child wound comes up, but the body and the persona and the psyche is not in a space where it is a representation of a healthy parent, then who's going to bring that inner child back to safety? Who's going to bring that inner child back to groundedness? Who is going to bring that inner child support? Let's say if you haven't been taught as a child how to hold yourself, and as an adult you still haven't learned this, then the re-traumatization can happen. So if you're not fully embodying your healthy adult, then when your inner child wound comes up, then your current self, which may be someone, if you have not prepared your psyche and you're not embodying a healthy parent, then it's a wounded inner child meeting a wounded it's a wounded child meeting the inner child that's also wounded, and they're just gonna, it's just gonna cycle. The nervous system is just going to be in this hypervigilant state because the self-soothing isn't happening, the support isn't happening, the regulation isn't happening, the grace and that divine connection isn't flowing. So yeah, and this is why trauma-informed practices is important, and this is why preparing the body, preparing the mind before going into this deep work is important. Because what preparing the mind entails and what preparing the body entails is a few things. Well, one of it is a way that you can prepare your body and your psyche and your mind to do this deeper work is practicing mindfulness, becoming aware of your thoughts and having a healthy relationship with your thoughts. Meditation is one way of doing this. Another way is reprogramming your mental mind, your subconscious mind, so that the foundation is love and not fear. So when these emotions come up, when the trauma comes up, you can meet it with love. You can bring it back to love. You can speak to it and guide it back to love, back to safety, security. This is also a way of self-soothing yourself. So when you learn mindfulness and then you bring in that loving compassion to yourself and you practice this consciously, when these subconscious and unconscious traumas come up, you can meet it with that love because you've practiced. So it's almost like a second persona that can come in and can hold that wounded inner child. So self-care and self-love practices, so things that regulate the nervous system like yoga, breath work, self-massage and touch. When you practice these things, which is all part of embodying a healthy parent, an adult that takes self-responsibility, an adult that knows how to take care of itself. When you practice these self-love and self-care practices and rituals, you can bring that in when the inner child, when the childhood wounds, when the trauma comes up, you can, learn how to bring yourself back to safety through these practices, these self-love, self-care practices such as yoga, breath work, self-massage, self-talk. And a powerful tool that I love to support people in developing is their spiritual connection, the higher power, practicing bringing in that higher power, whether it's Krishna, whether it's Jesus, whether it's God, whether it's angels, whether it's Mother Earth. Learning how to bring that higher power into your field. So not only are you the parent for your inner child, but as an adult who's practicing embodying a healthy parent, you get to be supported by something higher than you as well. You get to be supported by this light, by a light that's higher, the higher power light. And yeah, it could be a Jesus. And the thing is, I go into this way deeper with my clients, but with every culture, with every spiritual practice, with every religion, there's certain practices that deepen that relationship, whether it's prayer, whether it's through ritual, whether it's through invocations, color, sound. It's important to look into these aspects and bring them in, and they're powerful tools, and it brings in divine grace. It allows you to journey through healing and integrating your whole self and working through past traumas with divine grace. So you're being held by unconditional love while you journey, while you do your best to embody a healthy parent, while at the same time learning how to soothe your inner child when her triggers come up, when the traumas come up. Now, once you integrate all these different things, then you're ready to meet your inner child. You're ready to go deep into that core wound and meet it with as much loving presence and awareness as you can. And that's how you transform it, by just knowing how to hold it. And that's difficult. To sit and be in the midst of the internal chaos and the internal hurt and trauma that has been stored in your body for potentially God knows how long, since you were a child. It takes practice to build that emotional capacity. So please, if you're on this journey of going into yourself and doing this deep work, be patient, be kind with yourself. You can only parent yourself and be the role model that your parents taught you, that your parents were. And if they weren't a healthy role model, then don't blame yourself. The fact that you're curious and you're willing to do this work just shows how much responsibility, freedom, and more choice you have compared to your parents. you are probably a lineage breaker. You're breaking ancestral patterns. Trauma can get passed down up to 5 generations and more. So it's significant what you're doing. It's an honor for you to walk this path, right? And set a new way for future generations. So as you probably know, I'm a transformational coach and qualified therapist. So this is what I support my clients through, and this is why the re-traumatization doesn't happen with my clients, because the process of preparing them is so intensive and important. And of course, sometimes I have people come to me who already have done the foundation. They've already meditated, they know how to meditate, they know how to self-regulate, they're already practicing self-love, and then we go so deep, so quick because they've done the foundation. But there's also people that haven't done the foundation, and this is the initial process, is learning how to self-soothe, learning how to be mindful, learning how to meet the emotions of love, learning how to practice choosing love over fear, strengthening that connection to a higher power that can hold you as you learn how to hold yourself, learning how to journey with divine grace. Oh, big topic, guys. This is such a big topic. And I'm passionate about re-traumatization because it can be one of those things that makes or breaks a person when it comes to entering the field of self-healing and self-development and therapy. If you get thrown into the deep end too quickly and you've got no tools, you are left hanging. And sometimes you feel like, some people can feel as though they are left hanging by the thread because they literally don't have any tools. They haven't been taught. And then the world seems like the most unsafe place to be in. And the dissociation can happen, the addictions can happen. And if there's no tools, then it's more likely that a person will run to and seek a temporary relief, whether it's through codependent relationships or addictions, or they can go into the worst case scenario is suicidality thoughts. And yeah, so please reach out if you need any assistance with this. If you want to go on this transformational journey and you want to do it in a trauma-informed way, then I prioritize your safety. I prioritize your sense of being able to meet it, and we train together. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for dropping in, and big love to you all. Thank you.